Welcome everyone to the Win Now podcast, hosted by Deborah Byrd, founder and CEO of Plug and Play SM.
I am so excited for today's show, so let's go.
And then myself, Todd Bookspan, founder of Win by Noon.
Okay, it is 12 o'clock, so you know what that means. Hopefully everyone has won by noon today. This is the Win Now podcast. My co-host, Todd Bookspan, who's the CEO and founder of Win by Noon, is actually on an airplane flying back from New York, where we were at an event, the Nerd, the Bird, and Todd for the past couple of days. And our special guest, which is Denise Donoghue, AKA the Mortgage Nerd. She will be going deep into what she's doing in this market, what's working, what's not working, what has she tried and failed at, and what has she just revised and kind of polished to reach the success that she has. And then, as always, my name is Deborah Byrd, the CEO and founder of Plug and Play SM, which is a social media marketing company for loan originators. So welcome, Denise.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I'm honored to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you, even though you're wearing your ball cap.
I am.
It's all good.
It's a busy day, and I was like, you know what? This is who I am. So we're just going to show up in a ball cap and keep it real.
Okay, so we titled this basically how you're approaching this interesting market, and just for the state where we are. This is about mid-April 2023. Denise is a mega producer. She is based out of Dallas, Fort Worth in Texas. So guys, if y'all have any deals that you need some Texas love to handle, I'm sure she would be happy to receive those referrals. But she's been known as the person who runs a large team, but she's the only originator on the team. And so, 2021 helped over 720 families buy or refinance in, that booming market, to last year. It was just a little over 500 or 600. Is that correct, Denise?
500.
Okay. And then this year, where, interest rates are a little bit higher, we know that there's more competition because we have, just from a quantity standpoint, we have more licensed real estate agents as well as more licensed originators, all competing for the same amount of business, which happens to be at the lowest amount of inventory of all time. So it's like having a Happy Meal to feed a family of 20. What's going to end up happening naturally is probably some are going to have to get out, which is probably a good thing, to be perfectly honest. But we want to make sure those who are winning by noon, who are giving good advice, are going to not only survive this market, but thrive. And, I'll be honest, there's some clients of mine that are a little nervous, like their P&Ls are a little off. They're looking at their bank accounts and they're like, I maybe have like a good month or two to survive. Like, I don't know what to do. So you're someone that has been able to win despite market changes. Where would you like to start for the loan officer who may be the single LO who's trying to get to where you are, or even the one that's been doing this for 20 years that, is reaching their own challenges and they just don't even know where to begin?
Sure. Well, I think first place to start is just to acknowledge that we're all in this same boat of, if you're a branch manager, you are staffed from a standpoint of being able to help, a certain amount of families each month. And I don't want to say everybody's production's down because that would be assumptive, but mine is certainly down. And I've been in this business now for just over 10 years. I have a well-oiled machine. I do all the daily disciplines. So if you're feeling like, holy crap, my business is down, everybody's business is down. And I was used to closing 50 to 60 transactions a month, and it's dwindled down to just under 30. But the reality is it's cut in half. And so if you were closing 10 deals a month, it's cut to 5. And a lot of what we're seeing is we're losing a lot more deals to builders because they're offering hefty builder incentives that, when they were offering $3,000 or $4,000 in incentives, you could maybe get skinny on pricing and compete. But right now it's like there's no inventory. And so people are going to builders and it's very hard to compete. And so there's kind of a humble reality check that it's going to take more conversations, more families, And then you have to be able to convert. And so what we've learned is that there were a lot of people in the last few years that were going to buy a home, and then they decided to pump the brakes on that because, you know, the market got crazy and multiple offers and waiving everything. And those are the people that if I was saying to myself, what are the two things that I would be doing to get business like yesterday? I would be honing in on that database of people who are the maybes and decided to wait and re-engage and find out why they're waiting. Because as soon as rates get below 5.5%, it's going to be a mad dash, and there's still a shortage of inventory. So I would look at my database at the maybes, and I would look at my database of people who closed that I haven't been keeping a good enough contact with. If you're not doing those annual reviews, that's an easy place to start. You know, send them a Zillow link and say, hey, it's been 2 years since you purchased your home. Here's the online value. What do you think of this? And it just sparks the conversation. It gets a conversation going. And then in that dance of a conversation, ask if they know anyone that's thinking of buying or selling or relocating to your area. Leveraging your database is huge right now in both of those instances. And then the other thing is getting in front of as many realtors as you can, whether that means in person or Zoom meetings but you've got to, if it used to take you 17 leads, let's say, to close 5 deals a month, you're probably going to have to double that based on current conversions for all of us. I mean, the best and the best their conversion rates suck right now because we're losing so much, or people are just deciding, I don't like that house for that payment, so I'm going to wait. You know, it's not necessarily saying that your skill set sucks, but people are getting pre-qualified, just not what they want, or they finally do and they go builder. So you're going to have to be talking to more people. So get real with yourself. Look at your Win by Noon planner and how much time are you blocking for lead generation and conversations. And then I'd go a step further to say, how are those communications? How intentional are the words that you're using, and how meaningful are those conversations? Because words, as we know, can either influence people or not. And so that would be my advice. But first and foremost, like, I just want you guys to know that the best of the best loan officers that you might see on stage, like, everyone's production is down. Mine is personally cut in half. So it's painful. We're all feeling the pain, and it's scary. But the other thing I'll say is, this isn't the only time. If y'all remember in 2019, it got the same way. And so some of this means you have to sit in this gray area. And for those of you, some of you are just not good at sitting in the gray, sitting in this space of like, can't control it. All I can do is my daily disciplines and, cut back on budgets, cut back on your spending, tell your wife and your kids and your family and your husband, and you're not taking, you're not door dashing every single lunch, but you're going to have to get skinny. And the last thing I'll say is have some grace for your branch manager, because they're probably super stressed out. They're trying to juggle a P&L. I'm sure their corporate and regional managers and national sales managers are probably barking down their back, and they're trying to save as many people because they don't want to make any layoffs. It's always a last resort that people want to do. And it's stressful because at some point rates are going to come down, and then guess what? You're going to have to rehire. It sucks.
Well, so I want to hit on the first thing. So you had said the 2 areas to focus on, it's database. So guys, first thing to do, like immediately when you get off of this call, or if you're listening to this podcast, which we are now streaming on all of your favorite platforms. So please make sure you download, do a 5-star review, you know the drill. But go back through and really mine your data to see who were people that got in touch with you. Maybe they were a lead, they never even actually applied, or who did apply, but they said, I think we're just going to wait. They got tired of losing out on offers. And so who are the maybes? So I love that. Take time to find the maybes. And then, the other idea with the annual reviews, I know I've heard from a lot of you, you're like, should I even do a CMA or an annual asset review for someone who bought 2 years ago when they're not going to sell or refinance? Like they're sitting at the peak of when rates were historically low. And I love that you are sending them, I'm guessing it's like a snippet of what is Zillow is saying their home is worth. And you're just asking them the question, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I just want to start the conversational dance, right? Like, yeah, anybody that bought a home prior to now probably has a lower rate. If you go into it just thinking, well, that's not going to benefit them, you're not engaging in conversation. Engage in the conversation with the end goal to be like, hey, by the way, do you know anyone that's looking to buy in Frisco, Texas? Or you can get even more dialed in the Kingsbridge community like you. That should be your goal is, do you know anybody, or who do you know that I think Todd Bookman always says, who do you know that I need to know or that I should know? And it starts the conversation. And that's really, I think sometimes when we engage in emails or when we think of that annual review, I call it the period. And I'm like, the question mark is greater than the period. If you just send, here's your value and here's this, that's a period. It doesn't engage in a conversation back. The whole point is to be engaging with your people so that they remember you. If you just send them emails and it's not engaging, they likely just delete and keep it moving.
Okay, so let's say, so your second item of that was getting in front of more realtors. And there was a comment in the chat of, let's say and I would like to get to, how do you target how do you pick your list? Like which agents are you going after? And then how do you even start that dance? Especially if you have no relationship with them really. But let's say you're meeting with the agent and they want cash for leads. What is your dance around that for those who say, will you participate in X amount of dollars for my leads?
I don't participate. Really what they're communicating to you, and it's a good point, is a lot of times what we take clients or even agents and what they say or ask for very literal. And sometimes they're just using that because that's the only thing that they know to ask. So if business is down and leads are down because buyers don't want to buy with a rate over 5.5, and I'm referencing 5.5 because that just came out in an article. And sellers don't want to sell because they have a super low rate. What they're telling you is they're in quicksand and they're scared. And the only thing they know to do is throw money at the problem. I'll just throw money at the problem and I'll get leads. But I usually refer back to them and I'm like, what is your experience with online leads? Because if any of you have worked with online leads, you have to have a super dialed in CRM. And Follow Up Boss is like the only one that I know of that actually has like AI and text capabilities. That's very, very smart because it's lead to speed. If they don't have any kind of CRM but I can't assume that. But what I'm hearing is that they're scared and they need leads. So you have to, again, engage in that conversation. What is your experience with online leads? And then if they say not much, or I'm just trying to do something, and okay, now start poking at do you currently have a system set up so that you can respond to such lead in less than 3 seconds? Because statistics show that that's what it takes to convert. Otherwise, there's a 1% rate of return, and that's for the opportunity to buy or sell. So it's cut in half, which is 0.5%, if you're just a lender that can help with a buy, because you can't help them sell. You don't have the chance to double whammy it. So it's a super low conversion and pretty expensive. And for that reason, Mr. Customer, I have found that that's not the best solution. What I know does work are open houses. Are there any agents in your brokerage that have listings that you would be able to work? And I'd be happy to co-host those for you and put a strategy around those, because even in 2023, it's still the #1 lead source for real estate agents. It's just 80% of them now don't do effective open houses because the last few years got us a little lazy. We don't even know how to engage in those conversations. I just heard from a client that their realtor didn't show up to do the open house until 1 minute before the open house. There were no signs. There was no food. So it's like, you got to understand that what they're communicating to you is, I need leads, and I need leads like yesterday, or I'm going to have to go back to my corporate job that I quit, and I don't want to do that.
Well, I think there's some loan officers who could be listening that feel that way too. Like I need leads. Like right now, I don't have the time to nurture and do the dance with real estate agents, especially when some of them, it can feel like you're just taking a lot of lunches and coffees and you're not getting anywhere. Like there seems to be a conversion problem with maybe even someone who's been hosting classes every month and they feel like they've been doing everything that they're told to do and they just don't have the referrals coming in. Like, how would you coach that person? My first question is, if you were to be picked up and moved to a place that you've never lived, you have no relationships, there's no database there, and you could only do loans there, how would you start? And then two, what do you tell the person who feels like they're doing all of the things like the protecting the pipeline Wednesday and, hosting the events and getting agents there, but they're not getting deals from them?
But the reality is that there are the harsh reality, I will say, is there's a fair amount of us that are doing all the things. We're doing the right things, but we're not getting like all these leads. And it's not because you're not doing the right stuff. It's because there's not enough people in the marketplace that are wanting to sell and buy. And I'm in a DFW area where it's a hot area. There's people relocating here left and right. I can't imagine being in like Ohio. It's a totally different market. So I think that's what I say is you might have to sit in the space that you might not be able to do anything more than what you're already doing. But if I was picking up and starting in a new place, I would go after title companies and I would go after the brokerage managers because I know that I would need to get in front of as many realtors as I can. So title companies and brokerages, they have the agents. I would try to get on their schedule of a meeting that they already have planned. And I would use my same marketing strategy that I use here that I would use anywhere. And it's how a lender can help give deals back to you. It's a carrot, but there's a lot of gold in the 1003. And if you explain to them that you're a loan officer that thinks strategically and tries to maximize each relationship to its fullest. So if I get tax returns and there's a CPA, I'm going to give you that CPA information, Mr. Realtor, so that you can make a connection and maybe get referrals from them. If there's a divorce attorney on the divorce decree, same thing. If there's a financial advisor on the asset statement. So I'm showcasing that I think differently. And that's just my easy go-to carrot. And guess what? Every agent in America right now wants leads. But it's funny because that tactic really implies that you have to send me someone in order for me to give that to you, which is brilliant because I don't have a surplus of agents. Like that's the number one thing that people ask me. I was at a conference last week and they were like, I'm kind of frustrated that I like my lender and I've sent them all my business, but they never give me a referral back. And I'm like, well, I mean, if they don't work for a bank, it's not like we have a database of just agentless clients because most of our clients come from realtors. And the integrity that I have is that if you referred me a deal 6 years ago and the person comes back to me, I'm going to refer it back to you because that's the integrity of our business model. But what I can tell you is that we can maximize really powerful referral partners like a CPA who's straight commissioned like all of us if we just tap into their resources correctly. And they're like, oh, okay. Of course, you then have to deliver, but it's at least enough that's different that their current lender might not offer. It's very current in the market we're in because everybody needs leads. You'll get some interest and then it's all in the second appointment, follow-up appointment, and of course, how you handle the transaction from there. But very, very, very important to get in front of as many agents as you can to build up that realtor roster in your area. And then once you get more realtors in your CRM, you can start hosting your own Zoom masterminds or your own in events that then you can record, chop up, post all over the place, send out. But you got to build up that realtor roster like ASAP. In fact, your goal should be to add 10 realtors a week to your database. And I'm not talking like downloading an email list. I mean, like get in front of 10 agents. And if it's Friday and you haven't gotten in front of 10, then you better go open house, crash 5 open houses that weekend because your goal should be 10 a week. Put them in your CRM and start building up your roster.
Okay, guys, so there you go. Homework assignment number 1, go through your database. Where are the maybes of people who were interested in possibly buying and haven't? Also, who are some people that you need to be like every week, guys? the start of the week when you're setting up your, ideal week from your planner, who are the people that closed, the third week of April in the years prior that you could do a proactive annual review for. Also, get with your local title companies. And if title companies won't give out, real estate information, then go directly to the team leads or the broker owners to see if you can go ahead and join a meeting that they're already hosting, because the goal is every week you should be adding 10 new real estate agents to your database. That way you have a database to then market to for when you host your own events. So if that means you have to go open house crashing, then that's another thing I would do. I would say Thursday or Friday, who's hosting open houses this weekend? And you could nonchalantly stop by. Always make sure it's very clear you're not a buyer, because they're not, don't waste their time where they start showing you around the house. But, what better way to meet and start a relationship than when they're stuck in the house, right? Okay, so great ideas already. Give some feedback on, and I needed your coaching on this back when you first recruited me in the business, where I just was not good at asking for the business. And I would do all the right things, and I would get up and I would do the masterminds, and I would do my little intro, and maybe I would present for the rest of the class, or I would have a speaker. But there's a big miss that I wasn't great at, and I feel like you've really polished, and you're not fearful. You come across confident. You make it known that what you bring to your partners is valuable and kind of what you expect in return. So can you kind of go over those magic words of what your script kind of sounds like when you are in a room full of real estate agents, of how to make sure that you're asking for the business?
Yes. It's uncomfortable. And to Eddie's question, I'm not asking escrow officers to refer business. I'm asking to participate in, if they're doing a CE class for realtors, to bring the lunch and give a 10-minute spiel. I'm certainly not asking for referrals, but you're just trying to join the already meetings or trainings that they have scheduled for realtors, and maybe offer to bring lunch. It's going to get you in front of more agents than you just trying to cold call 40 agents, because I just left an event with a bunch of real estate agents, and the number one thing they said is, do not call me and ask me to coffee. Like literally all of them said that. So you're trying to cast a wider net by just getting on the current agenda and getting in front of those agents. But when you do, you can't just be the lender that shows up to bring the value. You need to, if you're presenting, and maybe you're presenting what I call the power partner strategy, where I connect the power partners like CPAs and financial advisors at the start of every meeting or Zoom mastermind. I'm like, hey guys, my name's Denise, the mortgage nerd. Raise your hand if you guys have done business with me. And I'm like, thank you so much. I really appreciate y'all support. For those of you who haven't, I'm a mortgage lender. That's how I get paid. That's how our team gets paid. My number one objective is to bring you value today, but ultimately I don't get paid to bring you value. I get paid to write mortgage loans. So I would love the opportunity to work your next 2 clients, show you inside the nerd experience, how we wine and dine your clients, how we have a fully transparent approach, and how our communication is above hopefully any lender you've ever worked with. But I need that opportunity to show you, and I will commit to you top-notch service, ecstatic clients who will refer more business and clients back to you because their transaction went so well, and commit to providing you value like what I'm going to do today. So is that fair? And I get a verbal commitment. Is that fair? And they're like, so I'm going to use that at the end of the presentation to be like, now remember, you guys told me at the beginning of this meeting that you would commit the next 2. I want your honest feedback if I delivered. And if I didn't, you never have to use me again. But that's kind of how you set the stage of, yes, I'm here to bring you value, but you don't want to be used either.
That was pure gold. So you guys are going to want to re-listen to that, write it out, make it your own. And you do have to ask for the business. So I was told by our business coach that what I was doing was basically charity work, because I was just trying to solve everyone's problems by giving them the marketing pieces, but I wasn't asking for the business back. So don't make it a charity. It is a business. And we have about 6 more minutes of the nerd on this call. You guys continue to put your questions for her. Guys, remember, this is a time, I mean, you have her ear. It's not easy. And I can tell you, I have my own family members who tried to get in touch with Denise through me. So, be selfish with your time. Denise, anything you would do to set your clients up, and I don't know if you do this from like a defensive standpoint, but we know there's a lot of builders in our area. Do you go ahead and plant the seed a little bit once someone pre-qualifies with you that,
Oh,
they haven't
absolutely.
maybe start? Okay. What
Yeah.
does that sound like? And someone had asked, what do you do when they mention that the builder is giving a $15,000 incentive? Like, what do you do from there?
I mean, listen, like if you have any kind of integrity at all you can do is say, wow, that's fantastic. Congratulate them. Ask to see the loan estimate to make sure, say, hey, I would love to give this a look over for you. It's not common, but sometimes there are increased lender fees, which just offsets that incentive. So I just want to give it a look over for you, but I can assure you, if what you're saying is true and there's no hidden cost, that's absolutely the right and best deal for you. I'd also and so then they send me the loan estimate and I look at it, and more times than not, it is legit. They're just taking the profit from so I respond to them and I say, wow, this is a fantastic deal. You should take it all day long. So stroke their ego, congratulate them. I sometimes will say it looks like they're using the profit from the home to give you a better mortgage, just to let them know that it's not because I don't want to match it, but there's not that much revenue in mortgage loans. It's coming from the profit of the build. And I say, you know what? I don't know if the builder's lender, most don't, but they don't have a post-closing customer service team. And being that we're in the rate market that we're in, where interest rates are going to come down in the near future, I'd be happy to offer our services free for you. Oops, that means we have 2 minutes. I'd be happy to offer my services still to you for free. And what it does, and it's HomeBot, it will provide you a monthly equity report, and then we will monitor the interest rates for you even after closing, because rates will come down. And when they do, every person in America is going to call you to try to solicit you to refinance. They're going to send you postcards in the mail that look really enticing. But I'd love for you to reach out to me so that I can look at it and get you the best deal possible. And then I have an opportunity to capture the refi, because we know that their lender won't do that. So just because you get a no today doesn't mean that it's a never. We're in a rate market that all these people that we're losing to builders, put them in your HomeBot, follow up with them, drip on them. They will refinance. And that's part of you got to sit in this shit show right now. I don't know if we can say that, but it's shitty for everybody. You just got to remain patient. Don't psych yourself out. Don't quit the business. Just sit and see if you can stay patient enough. It's kind of like when you're going to the gym every day and you're trying to lose weight, and it's like, I've been working out for 6 weeks and I don't look any different. You got to keep doing it. It will get better. And if we knew what we knew in 2019, in 2019, it got really ugly and a lot of us got out of the business. And then the next 2 years were like the best 2 years ever in history. And so just know that could be around the corner. And do you want to be there for it?
Wow. Well, so for those who want to connect with you or, want to send you a referral that they obviously can't do in Texas, where would you like for them to contact you or follow you? What's a good place for that?
You are more than welcome to follow me on Instagram. In fact, take a picture of this right now and tag, upload it to your social media reels. Tag, of course, Win by Noon at The Mortgage Nerd. But if you have any additional questions, you're welcome to email me, follow me on social, anything like that. Be happy to help.
Well, thank you very much, Denise. I will let you sign off, guys. I'm going to stay on for just a couple more minutes so we can talk through some of your questions that you have in the chat, and just to kind of stay on this gray area for a bit, because I have the pleasure of speaking to some of you from, the trenches at the moment and mindset. And I know it's always easier, like when you're going through hell and someone's like, oh, it could always be worse, or just keep doing what you're doing. It's like, that's not helpful. Or just see the positive, like focus on the good. I'm like, I'm in a hellhole. Like I'm being positive about it. It's like, sometimes it's really hard when you feel like you're bleeding. And so, in all seriousness, this is when you really do need to look at what is coming in and what is coming out, and where could you pinch pennies so that you could survive a few more months when we know that this storm is going to turn. And I know just for me personally, some of my messiest, darkest, I mean, hot mess express moments, guys, ended up being the very pain of which was like this portal of transformation that I'm actually most proud of. Like my highlight moments and the big success that people will read for your bio when you go and you speak. It's like, can we not talk about that? Like, I'd rather talk about my biggest failures of where I totally took every wrong turn. Out of the nerd and the bird, it's like which twin took all the right exits? That was Denise. Who was the twin that took all the wrong turns? It was me. And I kind of felt like this screw up for some time, or just, insecure and not good enough and not worthy. And am I ever going to go somewhere where someone's not going to be like, oh my gosh, are you the mortgage nerd? And I'm like, no, I'm the bird. I'm the other one. A lot of people think we're the same person, but we're not. So as hard as it may be with sitting in the gray, there are some strategies from the moment, and it starts with before you go to bed at night, looking back and just let's reflect on the day and where was the good news? Like, where was the good from the bad moments, or where are the lessons? Like, don't beat yourself up mentally of how this meeting could have gone better. It's like, it's not always helpful. So we've got to first be grateful for what we have, for the opportunity that we have, maybe for our health. It's a couple years ago, we weren't even able to travel and go to the stores and see family. And there's people out there who do have it worse than we do. And so there's micro things that if you started at night before you went to bed and then made sure you had a good night's rest, which I'm the world's worst at. You guys know if you follow me on Instagram with my personal account, I think because my mind is a creative and it's always going, it's hard for me to turn off. And so I'm one of those that I could stay up till 3 a.m. and no problem. But what are the small daily disciplines from our morning routine, which we thankfully can track in the planner of, am I getting up on time or am I hitting snooze? Am I getting, like, even if you have to go outside and walk for just 10 minutes to get some vitamin D and some sunlight, are you moving? Is there any kind of exercise? Are you getting still and mentally preparing, whether that's meditation, prayer, whatever it may be? How are you visualizing the day to go? Are you starting with a full cup and with a positive attitude and being optimistic and with a plan so that your brain isn't wrapped around what am I going to do today, and being proactive instead of reactive? And so those are just some little things that we can do from a mindset standpoint, where I want you all to adopt, like, we're winners. And sometimes it's about winning the day and not just winning the game. It's a long-term strategy and a long-term, lifelong battle that's going to be in life and in business. So what are the small wins that you can rack up and just give yourself a pat on the back for? Small little micro improvements. And maybe it's just documenting your morning routine. Maybe it's trying one handwritten note a day where you're choosing to point out in somebody else what they're doing well. Another side note, I'm very critical on myself. I have very high expectations and standards. And so for those in my own house, like, I can be a big cheerleader for everybody else. And sometimes those who live under my own roof get the leftovers, or me when I'm not, trying to pour energy into everybody else. And so I have to work on myself. I can sometimes be critical on my kids, and, that's not pleasant. And I think a lot of times it's because I'm so critical on myself that we have to stop and say, okay, what if instead of looking for what they didn't do, like unloading the dishwasher, doing the dishes in the sink, holding their laundry, the list could go on forever when you have 4 little ones, but what did they try? And what did they do well? And maybe they put the toilet seat down this time, or they just forgot to lift it, which is obvious when you have boys. But it's just being aware of the choices that we have. And sometimes the more we look for the good in others, we can then start to find the good in ourselves. And if you need help with this, or you want to take this offline and have a chat, like, I don't know if there's anybody else that had made so many, like, it took me a while to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. And so I will be as transparent and vulnerable. I have no secrets. Um, I will help you because I had to help myself. So I feel like I have empathy and know what that feels like. Okay, so for the question about the database, so Eddie, you had asked, what are your feelings about uploading your entire database with your employer? So I can tell you one thing that even Denise taught me when I got into the business is if your company allows this, she never uploaded anything into an enterprise account with the company. She always owned and had her own CRM, which currently is Be in Touch. So capital B, capital N Touch. Actually wrote out all the campaigns and we customized it and learned all the triggers so that we could be very intentional with our outreach marketing. But it was important that if you're getting the business, I think selfishly, I mean, we were protecting ourselves that if we ever wanted to move companies, it would be easy to move. So thankfully, we always had our own domain. So it was mortgagenerd.com, which is now mortgagenerdgroup.com. She even had her own email address. So like if you try to email Denise, it's homeloans@mtgnerdgroup.com and it goes into her company email. She has her own vanity phone number. So literally, if she ever turned the lights off, changed companies, it would be like turning the light switch back on, which she did. She recently moved company. She left Thrive Mortgage and went to Benchmark right around the beginning of March. And it was as easy, I'll say easy. I mean, you're still having to plug into like a new Encompass, which all those things can be a little bit different and they use Flowify versus Simple Nexus, but she wanted to own all that. So the vanity phone number, it all stayed the same. The email address all stayed the same. The web domain all stayed the same. Her CRM stayed the same. Her mortgage coach, MBS Highway, all of that stayed the same. So I know that that's what she would say because that's what she taught me to do. And I just literally helped her with that transition. So, if you guys want to talk to her even about why she made her move and, for her, it was more about where do I want to plant my flag because of, looking at her legacy and what she wants to like, who does she want to end the race with? She's been the top producer for many years. And sometimes it's not about doing more loans. Like when people introduce her and they talk about how many loans that she does, she's like, I honestly like her kid is 5. She has one child. He's about to start kindergarten and she doesn't necessarily want to keep doing 500, 600, 700 loans each year. It's more now that she's built her career and, she has other investments going. It's now just maintaining for her team and letting her team kind of grow. She has the Nerd Academy. So if you click her link in her bio on Instagram, she has different courses that she sells of like, how does she pitch interest rates and opportunities for loan officers to learn based off truth, like what she actually has done and what worked for her may not work for everybody. But she's at the point where freedom, it's that whole financial freedom and emotional freedom to now be able to live a life, but just also give back to those who want what she has. And, for some of us, like I started having kids much younger in age and did not have my career established. I was a teacher at the time. And, I don't regret it by any means. It was just different. And so sometimes depending on the season or the stage that you're at, that's where you can reflect and say, okay, how much longer do you have in this business? Do you have something that you can pass down that could be generational for grandkids or your own children? Or what is that brand legacy, like your brand's equity? Do you have that established? And I will tell you, if you would just implement the Win by Noon planner. So if you haven't gotten a planner, go to winbynoon.com, guys. The secret success formula is in the planner. It literally tells you each day what to do based off the top producers. Like these are repeatable results. It's not just one person who got lucky in a hot market when interest rates were historically low. But this is how you keep a well-balanced wheel for your business so that you're not oversaturated, maybe in just the refinance market or, reverse or purchase, whatever it may be. This planner, if done consistently over time and you document it, I promise you, you will get results. Now, when you start tracking your activities, you may realize, okay, I'm going to have to double my activity. So how many quality conversations am I committed to having every day? If I double that, now I can start to manage my pipeline where I'll know how many conversations it takes to get the number of leads that I want. I'll know how many leads I need to get the number of contracts that I want, and how many contracts are needed to get the fundings that I need. So I can't encourage you all enough. Like, it's something, I still have my original planner that I got. I think it was the year it was founded, and it made a world of a difference of just actually knowing what worked. I think that's the other thing. And sometimes I do interviews where it's almost like people don't really know. Like, it's like they can't coach you because they didn't document. And I will say, if you're getting coached by somebody, I would ask for the documentation and proof where there's been repeatable results of what's worked, because otherwise you could have just gotten lucky. You don't know if it was your open house strategy, or was it this script, or was it this book strategy, or was it doing your own masterminds every single month? Like, how do you actually know what's working and what's not working if you're not tracking it? And there is so much power when you have to like physically write in a planner. It's actually psychological. It crystallizes in your brain when you write out your own notes, and when you can look at a sheet and already have a plan of who are my quality conversations that I need to have. And it could be like looking at who were your top 5 agents. Let's say look at in 2021 and 2022. Like, if you had to look at who were the top 5, either in referrals or closed business, are they still in your top 5? Are they even referring you business? Like, are you having monthly business meetings? Not to say, how many referrals you sent me, but like, here we are sitting down and we're looking at, all right, what activities did we both do? Where can we be more efficient with either the cross sell? Like, here are the closings we had together so far year to date. Are there any opportunities in this client's other, trusted sphere of advisors, whether it is a divorce attorney or a family or will attorney or CPA? Like, are you going deeper with your agents that have already shown trust and that you've had success with? Because I will say that's the other big miss that I see. And I believe wholeheartedly you got to cast a wider net, and obviously going one to many on social, but you still got to go deep and build the relationship, because, rock, paper, scissors, relationships trump every single time. And if you can solve their business challenges and have not accountability, because you're not coaching your agents, but let's just like, maybe we need space where we both talk about how we're sitting in a little bit of gray. What kind of marketing strategy could we come up with where maybe this next quarter we're going to focus on OBGYNs, who we know, most people when they're expecting their first child typically will end up looking at buying a home because they want to get that nest available. And do you know, when you get that little oh shit bag, which is what I call it, when you find out you're expecting, with like the nipple cream and stuff, it's like all these things that you're like, oh my gosh, especially when you're expecting for the first time, you're like, what is this? But imagine if it had, a brochure of yours with a pregnant lady, and it had a little hook over her belly that says, I heard you could use more space. And then you could educate them on, should you buy before or after the baby comes? Well, here's what most don't think about. When you are qualifying for a mortgage and you're on maternity leave, you have to consider how a lender qualifies that income. Because what if you don't come back? Like, I know you may say you'll come back, but you don't really know until you have that baby. And God forbid, what if there's complications? So should you start that process sooner? And what are the risks? Again, you're not trying to like manipulate to get them to buy just for your own benefit. Our goal is to truly show the good, the bad, and the ugly, and things that they may not be able to foresee because they don't do what you do. And then you let them decide. And you always give them, the 3 options. Like, the way I see it, you have 3 options. And then you paint the options out for them and empower them to feel like they're making the decision, not through manipulative or sales tactics, but because it's based off their needs. So we know the people who are buying and selling are based off life events. So then let's look at those life events: diapers, divorce, death, relocation. Where could you meet with your business partners who have already shown they trust you? And where could you go deeper and help them get more business? And then also consider, when you're casting that wide net, just like we do on here every Monday, guys, you could do yourself. And I have a link if you need help with how to set up a Zoom meeting. You could proactively reach out. This is where Todd has said before, you got to put yourself in paths of opportunity. Who could you reach out and ask them, hey, every Monday at noon, I host a show. I would love for you to be a guest. It's real informal. It's just a Q&A. My audience is real estate agents that I'm trying to bring value to. Obviously, I would like to earn their business in return, but I'd love for you to come on, Mike Simonson with Altos Research, or David Childers with Keeping Current Matters, or Deborah Byrd to talk about social media, or Todd Bookspan to talk about Win by Noon and what that can do if you have the real estate edition. I mean, utilize the people you already know. Who do you know that can help you get the opportunities that you need? And are you putting yourself in the path of opportunity, or are you sitting and waiting? Because guys, what if interest rates don't come down? What if the inventory doesn't get better? We can't just continue to wait and wait. It may mean that every single lead, every single conversation, every closing you have, are you getting at least 3 names from that person who may be interested in buying, selling, or refinancing? Like, that is a standard of your team. And this is where we may need to get your team on board. Like, I don't care if you're a processor, underwriter, closer, funder, guess what? It's a team sport. You guys don't eat unless the loan officer brings the business in. The loan officers, you don't get loans and you don't get commissions if you don't have a team behind you. So why can't the processors? And I'm happy to speak. If you guys have a marketing director and you want a call where I will speak to your entire company at your next company update meeting, or if you guys do company calls, we can do it via Zoom. And let's really talk about how this market shift is going to make your team have to realign and regroup. But the best time to ask for a referral or a review is when that other person is saying thank you, or is in gratitude, or there's some kind of dopamine. So if you have a conditional loan approval, why can't your processor be trained and scripted as, and I'll just use Jeremy Baxter as my example, like, and I don't even care if it's true or not, but all your processors could say, we only have 2 conditions. Let me tell you, Jeremy is a phenomenal loan officer. The fact that you only have 2 conditions, I mean, most of the conditions list are at least, 6, 7, 8 list long. And so, I can't express to you, and I work with all the loan officers, and I just want you to know you're in good hands. And, Jeremy's, every week we meet, we do a pipeline review. We know exactly where your file is. We're on top of it. And, his business only grows through referral. So if you know of anyone of your friends that may be asking you during this time, like, how's the move? Do you need help? How's the house? I would love to surprise Jeremy on closing day. Whether you just want to email me, or you can send a card in or bring it to closing with a name and numbers, or a way for us to gift Jeremy as a thank you to have 3 names, people who could be interested, where we could use your name as kind of that triangle of trust, and your processors and underwriters can be on board. Like, everyone in the assembly line, like, it's getting lean out there, guys. So this is like all hands on deck. We're all salespeople. We're all marketers, all of us. Your processor could ask that client, hey, when you guys are moving in, we'd love to see, a video of you guys walking through the door for the first time. Would you mind posting it? Tag us. This is your loan officer's team name, so we can all see it, who are behind the scenes and don't ever get, to meet you personally or go see the house. Like, it's time to now use your database and create gram-worthy experiences that they are so ecstatic about, that your own clients then become your marketing department. Because that's my message, kind of Q2 with just my own clients. For those of you who are plug and play SM rock stars, which, small plug, if you are a loan officer needing help with your social media, go to plugandplaysm.com. You do spell out the and. But guys, this day and age, it's all about proving it. So whatever you say your value is, nobody believes you. It's lip service until you prove it. So what evidence, what documentation, what client testimonials, which I call like your witnesses or your experts, like if this were, trial and you have to prove something, what are your values that you tell your agents or your clients? Is it your speed? Is it service? Is it experience? Is it lowest rates, fees, products, whatever it is? I'm going to tell you, prove it. I want to be able to look at your social media and be able to see it with my own eyes, that what you tell me you're going to do for me before, during, and after the loan, that I can actually see it with my own eyes. Because unfortunately, where marketing has overdone it, I would say, is there's a lot of lips moving and not a lot to back it up. A lot of talking heads, and they're not using those mortgage coach TCAs or MBS Highway or the charts with like the history of interest rates, like, or how inventory levels were drastically different from 2008 to now and why we're not going to have a housing crash. Like, guys, you have to use data to prove your word because nobody believes the word anymore. We just don't, because marketers over time have said, take this pill, lose 100 pounds in 2 minutes, and people would hook, line, and sinker. They would buy, and guess what? They were disappointed. So I want you to do your own audit. What are those? In fact, that was my post for today. So if you're following plug and play _SM, make sure you check out today's post. And I'm asking you, what are those top 3 values that you, or claims or promises that you make to people of why you? And whatever they are, I don't care what they are, do you prove it? And I mean, you need to look at all your marketing. What does your website say? What the emails that are going out, the text, the flyers that you have, your social, your bios. Are you proving your word? Because nobody's believing it. If you're just saying, you're just doing what everybody else is doing. Like, why not go left when everyone's going right? So I hope this was helpful. Again, from Todd Bookspan and I, this is the Win Now podcast. We would love to have you save, download, give a 5-star review. We actually just officially went live with the podcast. And then, as always, you can check out the video on the Win by Noon YouTube channel. And guys, as always, thank you for joining, and go win your day. Y'all take care.